Tonight, some good news for a change about the housing market. Sales rise for the first time in months, and that helps send stock prices soaring. I'm Harry Smith. Also tonight, the war in Iraq. It's now 4,000 Americans killed, 4,000 families that will never be the same.
My only son. My only son.
The mayor of Detroit charged in a sex scandal, caught by his own steamy text messages. And a surgeon temporarily removes 6 of her organs, then puts them back in.
I feel like I'm alive.
The first-of-a-kind surgery that saved her life.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening. Katie is off tonight. There is something different out there in that sea of for sale signs across America. A few more of them carry an additional plaque that says sold. No one's saying the housing slump is over, not by a long shot. But America's realtors today reported the first monthly sales increase in 6 months. One reason, homes are more affordable. Prices are down more than 8% in the past year. That's the biggest drop in 40 years. Anthony Mason now on new hopes for a turnaround in the housing market.
And what really accentuates the house is this area back here.
Is there finally some hope for the housing market?
A lot of counter space.
New Jersey realtor David Finale thinks so.
We have seen an increase in our company. We've had homes sell in as little as 24 hours, and this is just over the weekend.
The Northeast saw the biggest sales jump in February, up more than 11%. Sales were also up more than 2% in the Midwest and in the South, while sales fell slightly in the West. But nationally, home sales are still down nearly 24% from a year ago.
I think it's too soon to say that we've hit bottom, but we are starting to see some signs that maybe the bottom isn't too far away.
Falling prices are beginning to bring buyers back to the market.
The most important factor is listing the house at the right price.
The median home price, more than $213,000 a year ago, has tumbled to less than $196,000. And analysts say prices will continue to come down.
The next house that we're going to go into is listed at $280,000.
Helped by buses of bargain hunting buyers like this one in Plano, Texas.
You should see the backyard. It's beautiful.
Touring soaring numbers of foreclosed properties.
It's a savings of almost $60,000, and this house is absolutely beautiful.
So how far can prices fall? Some say another 10%. The spring and summer buying seasons just getting underway will be the real test of whether the housing market has come close to a bottom. Harry?
Is this a glimpse of the bottom, or could it get worse?
Well, it will depend on whether we have a deep recession, of course, Harry. But if you're looking for a bottom in sales, it probably won't come till the end of this year. A bottom in prices, probably not till next year. And a rebound, maybe not till 2010.
Anthony Mason, thanks. The housing slump just about drove Bear Stearns out of business. The Fed and J.P. Morgan Chase came to the rescue last week with a deal that had Chase buying Bear Stearns at the fire sale price of $2 a share. But protest from Bear shareholders threatened to scuttle the deal. Today, the offer was raised fivefold to $10 a share. That and the improved housing news sent the Dow up 187 points. The Nasdaq gained 68. Now to the presidential campaign. Hillary Clinton has long been touting her experience, but questions are being raised now about whether she's done some embellishing of her record. Here's investigative correspondent Cheryl Atkinson.
It was supposed to be an example of Hillary Clinton's battle-tested experience.
I remember landing under sniper fire.
In the speech last week, Senator Clinton was referring to her visit to Tuzla, Bosnia in 1996 as First Lady. The brutal war was over, but hostilities continued. And though the trip was exactly 12 years ago tomorrow, the memories seemed etched in Clinton's mind.
There was supposed to be some kind of a greeting ceremony at the airport, but instead we just ran with our heads down to get into the vehicles to get to our base.
Problem is, that's not what happened. And we should know, CBS News accompanied the First Lady and daughter Chelsea on that Bosnia trip. That's Senator Clinton talking to me on the military flight into Tuzla. And these are the pictures we recorded of the greeting ceremony when the plane landed. Compare that to Senator Clinton's account.
I remember landing under sniper fire. There was no greeting ceremony. and we basically were told to run to our cars. Now that is what happened.
Thank you. There was no sniper fire either when Senator Clinton visited 2 Army outposts where she posed for photos, and no sniper fire back at the base, where she sang at a USO show starring Sinbad and Sheryl Crow. Referring to the CBS News video, Clinton aides today acknowledged her arrival in Bosnia was not quite as dramatic as Clinton put it.
She meant that there was fire in the hillside around the area when we landed, which was the case.
Who knows if she misremembered, misspoke, exaggerated, whatever, it makes the case for Senator Obama that all this experience that she's been talking about is at least partly her imagination.
Hundreds of thousands have viewed the video online in just the past few days, a reminder that in politics, memory should always match the videotape. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, Washington.
In Detroit, a sex scandal led to criminal charges today against the mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, a married father of 3. Prosecutors say his own text messages prove he committed perjury. Dean Reynolds has the story.
At 38, Kwame Kilpatrick is the youngest mayor in Detroit's history. Once an up-and-coming star, he now has another less welcome distinction.
Perjury in a court proceeding, a 15-year felony.
Prosecutors charged Kilpatrick with 8 felonies, alleging he lied under oath about an affair with a top aide, blocked an investigation into it, and used taxpayer dollars to hush it up. The aide, former Chief of Staff Christine Beatty, was also indicted for perjury.
Our investigation has clearly shown that public dollars were used, the justice system was severely mocked, and the public trust trampled on.
Indeed, on the witness stand, both Kilpatrick and Beatty denied being intimate.
You and Mayor Kilpatrick either romantically or intimately involved with each other?
No.
But then text messages surfaced in a lawsuit filed by police officers. They said they were fired for looking into whether the mayor was using cops to cover his extramarital tracks. The messages showed Kilpatrick and Beatty professing their love for each other and more. Did you miss me sexually? Beatty asked in 2003. Hell yeah, you couldn't tell? I want some more, answered the mayor.
Told me that.
The police eventually won $8.4 million in damages, a settlement the mayor approved soon after he learned the police had the potentially incriminating messages. Today, Kilpatrick's lawyer said he is confident he can keep them out of the trial.
The idea that those text messages were legally obtained, I do challenge that.
I look forward to complete exoneration once all the facts surrounding this matter have been brought forth.
He's due in court tomorrow. Conviction would mean expulsion from office. Dean Reynolds, CBS News, Chicago.
Turning now to Iraq, where the U.S. death toll has reached 4,000. The latest casualties came last night. 4 soldiers were killed by a roadside bomb south of Baghdad. But violence in Iraq has been decreasing. U.S. military deaths are down 72% since May of last year when the surge took full effect. Nearly all the American deaths, though, in the war, 97%, have come since May of 2003, when President Bush declared major combat operations in Iraq had ended. Today, the president offered his sympathies to the families of the fallen.
I have vowed in the past, and I will vow so long as I'm president, to make sure that those lives were not lost in vain.
A White House spokesperson said the president spends time every day thinking about those who have lost their lives in battle. So, of course, do the families of the fallen. Here's David Martin with that story.
It has now happened 4,000 times, but there is no getting used to it. All the potential of a young life gone in an instant, leaving a grief that hurts just to watch. Robert Pirelli was 29, but many of the fallen, like 19-year-old Travis Layfield, were just out of high school.
This is the year we're supposed to start our lives. We all graduated last year.
The faces of the fallen, so shocking when we saw them spread across 2 whole pages 4 years ago, would now fill most of the first section of a big city newspaper. Behind every picture lies an abyss of sorrow.
My only son.
Kendall Damon Watersby was one of the first to die.
President Bush, you took my only son away from me.
Louise Teal, who lost her only son, John, was more accepting of his fate.
He signed up to fight. When you fight, you get shot at.
Anger or resignation, a number cannot begin to tell the stories of the fallen. Jennifer Harting was about to give birth to their third child when her husband Jay was killed.
I remember looking at my child and thinking about my husband at the same time, and just overwhelming grief and overwhelming happiness at the same time.
Laurel Frank, who lived just down the street at Fort Irwin, California, seemed condemned to a lifetime of grief when she lost her husband, Stephen.
Does it get any easier?
Of course not.
Of course not.
I could be 95, it still wouldn't be easier.
It's like they just tear your heart out.
When Ellen Anderson's husband, Victor, was killed, the entire town of Ellaville, Georgia, turned out for his funeral.
It was overwhelming to know that so many people cared for us.
The war may have divided us, but from small-town churches to candlelight vigils, from an Indian tribe in Massachusetts to Muskegon, Michigan, we can still come together for the fallen. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
There is much more CBS News ahead. A courageous surgeon and a courageous patient reversed the diagnosis of inoperable cancer. But up next, Jed Clampett wannabes. High oil prices lead to an oil rush in some unlikely places. Stay tuned. New warnings tonight about severe flooding, this time in Arkansas. Towns near the White River could see their worst flooding in 25 years because of a broken levee. Meantime, floodwaters are receding in parts of Missouri, but the Mississippi River is still nearly 10 feet above flood stage in some areas. Severe rainstorms last week and the flooding that followed left at least 17 people dead in 3 Midwest states. It was just a week ago that oil closed at a record high of nearly $112 a barrel. Since then, oil's been sliding. It fell nearly $1 today to close at $100.86 a barrel. But that's still nearly $40 higher than it was just a year ago. And as Mark Strassman reports, the high prices touched off an oil rush in places you'd never imagine.
This is basically a century old.
Yeah.
Bill Huber's a third-generation oil man using 19th century methods and grit to pull crude from his oil field north of Pittsburgh.
So your granddaddy built this place? Yeah.
There's oil in these hills, lots of it. But for decades, little guys like Huber were just getting by. Now, with the price of oil sky high, there's more incentive than ever to pump it out.
You were just getting by.
Just getting by.
For years.
Yeah.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
Feels pretty good.
Things are finally looking up.
Just 10 years ago, oil was trading for less than $20 a barrel. But today's prices have sparked a new oil rush, and not just in places you'd expect, like Texas. They've been drilling for black gold in Southern California neighborhoods, Indiana cornfields, even this cemetery near Cleveland. Independent operators are now responsible for 2/3 of domestic oil production.
It's already higher than I thought I'd ever see it. So anything past now is, I guess you'd call it real gravy. I don't know.
It was gravy back in 1857, when the modern oil industry was born in western Pennsylvania. Oil City was at the center of the action for 100 years, until the shallow wells dried up and the big players packed up.
Here's where it all began, the site of the world's first commercial oil well. Even today, geologists estimate 60% of this region's oil remains untapped, enough oil to keep the pumps going for another century.
We have new shops and people moving in.
After 50 years of hard times, Oil City Mayor Sonia Hawkins says her city's on the brink of a rebirth. A Canadian company is leasing 8,000 acres with a plan to use the latest technology to tap the remaining oil.
This can help jumpstart our town.
And reward those with oil in their blood and on their tongues.
Go ahead.
Even here, crude has never tasted so sweet. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Oil City, Pennsylvania.
It's 4.5 months until the Beijing Olympics open, and today we got a glimpse of the controversy that surrounds these games. The Olympic flame was lighted in ancient Olympia, but the ceremony was disrupted by a man protesting Chinese repression in Tibet. Other demonstrators briefly stopped the torch relay just as it began an 85,000-mile journey to China. Still ahead, she had a tumor in one of the worst places possible. In a moment, the incredible surgery that saved her life. Now, a truly amazing medical story. A woman in Florida had a cancerous tumor deep inside her body. She was told conventional surgery might kill her. As Kelly Kobiea reports, the prognosis was dire until she met a surgeon whose skill matched her courage.
I feel like I'm alive.
Something 63-year-old Brooke Zepp didn't think she'd be able to say 9 months ago. Zepp was diagnosed with a rare and fatal cancerous tumor, entangled in arteries and buried so deep in her abdomen it was considered inoperable. Dr. Tomoaki Kato, a transplant surgeon at the University of Miami, saw it differently.
If you try to remove the tumor in a usual way, it's going to cause damage to the organs that were supplied by all these arteries. So we just took everything out of the body.
During a groundbreaking 15-hour surgery, Dr. Kato's team opened Zepp's abdomen like the hood of a car and took out the entire engine. Her stomach, pancreas, spleen, liver, large and small intestines, and kidneys. The organs were chilled while surgeons detangled the 2-inch tumor from Zepp's aorta, the main blood supply to those organs, and 2 other arteries. Once the tumor was out, the organs, connected to new Gore-Tex blood vessels, went back in.
She was like, I'm shocked looking at it.
When we were watching upstairs, she was like, oh my goodness.
Now, 3 weeks since the surgery, Zepp is looking at herself from the outside in, grateful that her gamble seems to have paid off.
I thought it would be better to take a chance on living than on dying soon.
Zepp said she also wanted to prove that an inoperable cancer can be operated on, and her surgeons agree that the success of this procedure will force doctors to rethink the way they treat certain cancers. Zepp's cancer is now gone, and Harry, she's headed home tomorrow.
Kelly Kobiea, thanks. A hoax on a classified ad site on the internet has cost an Oregon man nearly everything he owned. Someone placed 2 phony ads on Craigslist over the weekend saying Robert Salisbury had left town and his belongings were free for the taking. When Salisbury got home from work, he saw his possessions loaded on trucks and a crowd on his property. Police are trying to trace the ads. Meantime, anyone caught with Salisbury's belongings could face charges. Coming up next, the southernmost dentist in the world, how a trip to Antarctica saved his life. Finally tonight, it never tops the list of best places to retire. Fact is, you'd probably find it at the bottom of the world anyway. It's Antarctica, and John Blackstone reports it's where one American trailblazer has decided to spend his golden years.
On a volcanic ridge along the coast of Antarctica, the hiker stands out. On this frozen continent, a bow tie is an unlikely accessory to cold weather clothing.
With the wind blowing, it makes it really pretty brisk.
He does wear sunglasses against Antarctica's strong UV rays and blowing volcanic dust. But who is he?
I'm the only dentist in Antarctica.
This just started fairly recently.
Yeah, last week or so.
He's Dr. Fleet Ratliff, retired dentist from Olympia, Washington, now treating scientists and support workers in Antarctica. When he arrived, he decided everybody should know him. The bow tie did the trick. But his real story involves how he got the job.
I heard an ad on the local radio station, and actually the local announcer kind of made fun of it. I'll never forget his comment. He said, who would want to go to Antarctica? It's cold down there. It's really cold.
In Antarctica, the harsh climate and unforgiving landscape have claimed many lives. But it turns out Antarctica saved the life of the dentist with the bow tie. Because of the remote location and difficult conditions, everyone working in Antarctica needs a battery of medical tests. 3 years ago, at 63, Dr. Ratliff was feeling great when his doctor suggested one more test, a colonoscopy.
And that's where they found that there was a problem, and
a big problem.
A big problem, and I ended up with surgery and then having to go through chemotherapy.
For years, he'd resisted having a colonoscopy. He had no symptoms of his growing cancer.
I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
After a year of treatment and rehab, he was cleared to go to Antarctica.
And as best anybody can tell, I'm completely cancer-free at this point. So, and my take on it is that it's gone, and I'm going to live a normal life.
This is a normal life?
This is a normal life. Just sitting here in the wind in Antarctica. Doesn't everybody do that?
There are drawbacks to being here. He missed the birth of his first grandson, though the picture shows a clear resemblance. And while his family doesn't have him for the 4 months of the Antarctic summer, at least they do still have him. John Blackstone, CBS News, Antarctica.
That's the CBS Evening News. For Katie Couric, I'm Harry Smith. I'll see you in the morning on The Early Show. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on CBSNews.com.